Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons, and Pius Group of Institution, Guwahati.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. First, top of the day at this hour, the headlines. Massive shake-up in GMCH, the Guwahati Medical College and Hospital. Principal, superintendent shunted out. Head of the Department of Medicine placed under suspension in the middle of COVID crisis. Massive fire at Oil India Limited's Bagjan site near Tinsukia. Inferno spreads to adjoining areas, one injured. Biggest single-day spike in Mizoram COVID cases. Total in state rises to 71. And person without travel history tests positive from a village in Meghalaya's Ribhoi district. Fear of community transmission increases. All right, coming on to today's debate. With active COVID cases of 3,000 plus in a population of 45 million, one can say the Northeast has been managing the situation rather well, despite challenges like health infrastructure, communication, and manpower. The challenges are only increasing with the easing out of the lockdown, or rather, after the unlocking process has begun. Quarantining the returnees holds the key, because that's the way community spread can be prevented. Of late, however, prominent organizations as well as opposition political parties in some of the northeastern states have expressed their unhappiness at the way the respective state governments have been handling matters. The need of the hour is to resolve issues, and the only way to move ahead in this time of national crisis is to work together and ensure transparency in dealings. At the same time, everyone has to come together to fight stigma associated with COVID. After all, we have to fight the ailment, not the people who have got the virus. Joining me in the debate today is Reverend Vanlal Ruya, a theologist who is assistant professor at the Academy of Integrated Christian Studies in Aizawl, Mizoram's capital, who had got the COVID virus during his travel abroad, detected upon return home in Mizoram, and is completely cured now. He is the newsmaker tonight. From Shillong, I am joined by Meghalaya Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Preston Tingson. Also in Shillong, I have veteran Congress leader and former Speaker, Mr. Charles Pingrop. I am joined from Kohima by Nagaland government spokesman, Mr. Monlumo Kikon, who is also an MLA and advisor. Also in Kohima, I have Naga Hoho General Secretary, Mr. Ilu Andang. And of course, these are prominent people joining the discussion tonight. I'd like to go straight to Aizawl, where I am joined by Reverend Vanlal Ruya. Reverend Vanlal Ruya, welcome to Northeast Tonight. First of all, nice to see you. You are completely cured. You are the first COVID positive patient in Meghalaya. The authorities, the health personnel took good care of you. That's what we understand. And now you are completely cured. Of course, after 46 days in hospital. How did you face it all, Mr. Reverend Vanlal Ruya?
My case was a very serious one, actually.
Right.
So after I was tested positive, I was taken to the hospital in the middle of the night. My positive case was confirmed on 24th. And then I was admitted in the hospital in the morning, early in the morning, 2:30, 25th of April. Then I was admitted and I was shifted to ICU after a few days. because the virus was spread over my lung and some parts of my body. So I was taken care under ventilator for 3 weeks.
Right.
Actually, it was 22 days. And then after some time, I was tested negative, and then I was discharged on 9th May. That was after 46 days from my date of admission to the hospital. So it was a very long one, and I struggled a lot, actually.
Absolutely. You know, Reverend Van Lalruya, the moral of the story is that even after being in ventilator for 3 weeks, you have recovered. That means patients did not unnecessarily panic. It has been proved that even after being in ventilator for 3 weeks, you have yourself recovered.
Yes, yes, I've proved it. The hospital authority, I was the only COVID patient in Mizoram, and I was admitted into the hospital. It's called Zoram Medical College Hospital. And then all the doctors shared their expertise from different streams of medical academy. So with the help of these doctors and with the help of prayers from all over the state, I survived.
Okay, okay. Now, it's almost like, you know, you getting a second life. I'm sure you thank God for that.
Yes, of course, yes. I feel like getting a second life. There were times when I was not having enough oxygen, and I had a very difficult, a grave difficulty in breathing. So the doctor, the hospital authority was also in a little bit of despair, but I managed to come back to life. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You come back to live and kicking at this point in time. Now, what is the main lesson you learned about the virus and the disease, Reverend Van Lalruya?
Yeah, the virus is a very democratic one, actually. I was in Amsterdam, and I took every possible care of my health, and I had, after there was one positive case on 27th of February, I did not go out very often. I tried to stay home as much as possible. I only went out when it was extremely necessary. And when going out, I wash my hands carefully as soon as I went back home. So I took every possible steps to not to get infected by the virus, but still I was infected. So from my experience, it is a very democratic one, and everybody can be infected by it, so we need to be very careful. This is what I learned from my experience.
All right. Now, you know, what advice would you like to give the people in general and those in particular who have tested positive for COVID, Reverend?
Okay, for those who are tested positive, I would like to say that they should not be worried too much about that. I had such a long experience in the hospital, and it was very unfortunate that I was not tested at once. When I came back to my home from Amsterdam, a couple of days after I reached home, I arrived home, I got a low-graded fever. I started to get a low-graded fever. And then there was no testing laboratory in Mizoram that time. Yeah. And then when my fever was higher and higher, when I was getting worse, I consulted a doctor who is acquainted with me, and then he suggested me to go for sample tests. And then it took some days to receive my result also.
Right.
So there was a gap of about 10 days between my arrival and the time I was tested positive. So the virus spread and I was deeply infected by it already. But these days, testing is better and better, and people know their result very soon.
Yes, yes, of course. Now, your family comprise your wife and 2 daughters. What did you tell them after you tested positive?
There was not much time to tell them, to discuss anything with them, because as soon as my result was found positive, we were taken to the hospital. It was in the middle of the night and we were separated. My wife and my children were taken to another room and I was admitted into an isolation ward. So we could not meet each other. Then immediately I was sent to ICU.
ICU, okay. Now, after you were discharged, you spent 46 days in hospital. After you were discharged, did you come straight home?
Yes, I came back home straight, and I was advised another 14 days quarantine, home quarantine.
Right.
Then we observe this 2 weeks quarantine, and it's over now. And then, yeah, I live in a separate room and I use a separate toilet even after I was discharged.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how are people treating you now? What is the situation now? Are you facing any stigma at all? Are you meeting people?
Of course, yes, I'm meeting with people now, and I do not have any stigma. I do not experience any discrimination because of my problem. The people are very good and very friendly, and they are really happy that I came back to life.
Absolutely. Reverend Vanlal Ruya, a theologist in Aizawl, capital of Mizoram, and COVID fighter and survivor. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to me on Northeast Tonight. Stay safe and wish you all the best. All right, I would like to go straight now to the debate. I'm joined by Mr. Preston Tingson, the Deputy Chief Minister of Meghalaya, veteran political leader of the Northeast, leader of the NPP, National People Party. Mr. Preston Tingson, welcome. Now, first of all, do you think the fight against COVID pandemic is becoming more challenging now with returnees coming and the lockdown being eased out? What do you have to say?
Yes, I think, it is more challenging, no doubt about it. But as far as Meghalaya state is concerned, since the positive cases that's coming in almost every alternate day are confined to the returnees. See, what happened was, our mechanism is this way, where we already kept our people, our team, dedicated team, from both places. Number one is Guwahati Airport, and then number two is from railway station. So these two dedicated team we already have over there. Even the transportation management also is already in place. We make sure those returnees belonging to our state, the moment they landed in the airport or they landed in the railway station, straight away we take them to the quarantine centers in different parts of the state. So therefore, I don't see much challenges on that, since we confine only to these people who just come in.
Now, I also have, Congress leader, veteran Congress leader, Mr. Charles Pingrop. I will go to him in a while in Shillong. But Mr. Preston Tingsong, what is Meghalaya's biggest challenge now? Is it manpower, is it testing facility, or is it overall health infrastructure, according to you? Mr. Tingsong.
No, right now, in fact, everything is in place. Even the testing capacity right now, we have 400 plus. And maybe within a week's time, again, we will have double than that. And I'm sure even the testing capacity that we have right now, that is more or less okay. That is number one. And then the point number two is, as I said to you, the mechanism that we have already in place, the community transmission does not take place at all, because those returnees, the moment they landed in the respective stations, from there itself we taken over to the respective quarantine centers. Of course, in the quarantine centers, institutional quarantine centers that we have, we kept these people till the RT-PCR test report is received. Once we receive that they are negative, then we allow them to go back to the respective locality, where majority of the locality in the state of Meghalaya, we have a local quarantine centers. And these local quarantine centers, it's being managed, being controlled by the local village authority.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Mr. Preston Tingsong. I will also go to, now let me go to Mr. Charles Pingrop. Mr. Pingrop is a veteran Congress leader, former speaker of Meghalaya. Mr. Pingrop, welcome. You just heard the Deputy Chief Minister saying that things are pretty much under control. But the opposition Congress, that is your party in Meghalaya, doesn't seem to be completely satisfied, and some of your party leaders, if we go by media reports, some of your party leaders are questioning the Meghalaya government. They want to know the details of the expenditure and so on at this point in time as the state battles COVID. Mr. Pingrop.
Yes, I have heard what the Deputy Chief Minister had to say. And let me begin by thanking all the frontline workers for the excellent job they were doing under the most difficult circumstances. And we must agree that Meghalaya so far has been able to contain this pandemic to the best of their ability. And so I must thank the government too for that. But if you come to the expenditure which you were mentioning, this is not a question of a party. We do not want to play politics at this juncture. It would be much better if all of us, all Meghalayans, put our hands together to assist the government in any way which can be possible. Whereas we have seen during the last few months, even the MLAs decided to contribute part of their salary to the government so that they could use that funds to fight this pandemic. And there are many other organizations and individuals who have done so too. Therefore, the question of accountability will always arise. Because once you have used the funds which has been provided by the people and the public funds which you have got, through the government, accountability must be there. So as to convince the people that the funds which you have utilized to fight this pandemic over the last few months has been used very judiciously. And for that matter, tomorrow, once this is all over and when we go to the next financial year, you will find you will have the Comptroller and Auditor General's report also, which might question Therefore, it is better in the interests of all if the government just says that this is what we have spent. We do not doubt the integrity of the government at this point of time, but ensuring that the people are satisfied with what has been done will go a long way in bringing some credibility more credibility to the actions which the government has done.
Right.
That is my submission.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Pingrove, but let me go to once again to Mr. Preston Tingsong. Mr. Tingsong, you know, Mr. Charles Pingrove is speaking in a very reasonable and moderate manner, but there are Congress leaders in Meghalaya. One of them is supposed to have written a letter to you, Mr. Preston Tingsong, demanding details of how your government has spent around rupees 115 crore so far in fighting the pandemic. You have already received a letter, if our information is correct, from a Congress MLA asking for details. Mr. Tingsong.
Well, you know, I think you understand the role of the opposition. It's like that only. I don't have any surprise on that. Because right now, this is the battlefield that we have. We are in the middle of the battlefield. I think we don't have much time to say how much you spend here, how much you spend there. But ultimately, I'm telling you, we are doing things which is ultimately transparent to everybody. We will give all the details once the battlefield is succeeded.
Okay, I'll come back to these two gentlemen, very, very senior political leaders in Shillong, but let me quickly once go to Kohima, where I have two very important leaders of the state, Mr. Elu Andang, General Secretary of the Naga Hoho, and Mr. Monlumo Kikon, a very articulate political leader, BJP leader, MLA, advisor to the government, and of course the Nagaland government spokesman. Before I come to Mr. Kikon, first I'd like to go to Mr. Elu Andang. Mr. Elu Andang, once again, welcome. You know, hundreds of Naga people are returning home in the past few weeks. The number of COVID cases is also crossed 100. And my question is, as a living civil society leader, how do you assess the situation, Mr. Nandang?
Well, it is very disheartening to talk about the present situation here in Nagaland. Indeed, the state government have made a lot of announcements. They have made lots of publicity about the preparedness, but when reality strikes, it is so sad to see that in reality the government was not prepared. There were lots of mishandling of cases. They have not followed even SOP, and even before the test result came, some were sent out of Kohima. And another most disturbing thing is that even after completing institutional quarantine for 14 days, those returnees were not tested even after 15, 16 days. So we are at a loss actually how the government is handling this. The tested patients are also not allowed to see their reports, whether they are tested negative or positive. There are lots of disgruntlement even within the quarantine centers. There are lots of mismanagement in the quarantine centers. In spite of the frontliners giving their best effort to give protection to the returnees, I think the state government is not being able to properly manage the whole system.
Okay, but
there are also lots of miscommunications between the higher ups and the lower rank officers. And you see, from day one, the frontliners, like the drivers, the doctors, the nurses, they are not given rest even till today, in spite of the central government's notification that after every 14 days, they are allowed to go for self-quarantine.
All right.
But till today, none of them are given that space to go for self-quarantine. And I think many are also losing out physically.
Okay,
moment.
I will give time to Mr. Kikon to respond. But Mr. Ndang, you are leveling some serious allegations. What is the basis for these allegations? Are you referring to the Tuan Sang incident where 151 returnees were allowed to go to the state before their test results were out? And are you also referring to a similar kind of an incident in Peren? Mr. Ndang.
Like the Tuan Sang incident, the government have literally failed to manage the whole process. It has proven beyond doubts that the government were not prepared in spite of their claim.
Okay.
And even after the public exposed the mismanagement of the government, heeding to the demand of the public, the government have ordered transfer and posting of officers. And even the high power committee was reconstituted. Earlier, the commissioner of Nagaland was the chairman of the high power committee or the empowered committee. Now, the chief minister is the head of the empowered committee. In spite of the chief minister taking over the high-powered committee, another incident happened in Peren district.
Yeah.
The government claimed that it was misidentification of the patient. But in reality, the name...
Okay, let me go to Mr. Monlumo Kikon.
The patient may be having similar names. The age of the patient is different.
Right.
The contact number is different. The COVID number is different.
Yeah, let's have
even
Mr.
the
Kikon
village
on the
is different.
screen. Yes.
So how can the government say that it is misidentification? So see,
okay,
the whole system
hold your thoughts, Mr. Ndang. Let me go to Mr. Monlumo Kikon. Mr. Kikon, you know, the leader of a very influential organization, the Naga Hoho, you know, is leveling very serious charges of mishandling to your government. Now, what is your immediate response, actually? The Tuan Sang case, if I am not mistaken, already a judicial inquiry is in progress. How do you respond to Mr. Ndang?
Thank you for inviting me. I would like to begin by saying that after listening to Ilu Ndang, it seems that we live in two different states. The reality on the ground, from day one, our Chief Minister has visited all the district because, as you know, nothing in the world has prepared any country, any state to be ready for this COVID-19. This pandemic has been tragic and every state is trying its best to address this in their own respective states. Our Chief Minister, as I said, has gone to every district to assess the preparedness, number one. Number two, if you remember, there was a first case of a guy called Raja Jain who had come back from Kolkata. So that was our first test case. And at that point of time, we didn't have testing missions. So we had assessed the realistic situation on the ground, and on the basis of which we prepared the government for addressing the anticipated issues related to this. Number one, we were very clear that a lot of students and workers who are citizens of Nagaland based outside of Nagaland will be coming back. So the preparation was on for that. Number two, we had to ramp up our health infrastructure. We were very clear about our own preparation. So we were very realistic in our assessment. Number three, we were also worried about the economic situation, financial position, and so in the process, I would like to say that from having
one thing, Mr. Kikon, let me bring to your notice. Mr. Kikon, you know, only this evening, an hour ago, less than an hour ago, the principal and the superintendent of the Guwahati Medical College have been replaced. The head of the Department of Medicine in Guwahati Medical College have been placed under suspension because the Assam government has found that they have, you know, there was some fault in maintaining the COVID protocols. But we have not seen any kind of heads rolling in Nagaland after that major lapse about as far as the Tuan Sang and Peren incidents. What is your take on this?
Wasbir, you of all the people know very well when a judicial inquiry committee is set up. the government cannot do anything about it till they complete their time and they submit a report. And definitely has full role, definitely action will be taken on the basis of the Judicial Inquiry Committee. We cannot forego procedures just because we have hue and cry over it. But definitely government is, in its intent, is serious and has taken serious decision to form the Judicial Inquiry Committee, and the committee is yet to submit its report. The government has taken a decision in the latest cabinet meeting that as soon as the Judicial Inquiry Committee tables its report, the government will take action on the basis of the findings. So I am sure the government of Nagaland is very serious about this. But I would like to get back to Ilu Undang's contention. Number one, from having no testing machines, today, week's time, we will be able to test 820 cases per day. So that's our capacity. Number two, from having no COVID expertise, today our doctors have trained all its manpower, and our frontline workers are day in and day out working to ensure that from no positive cases, from not being able to handle that Raja Jain case, today we have around 125 cases in the state. And
okay, we'll
just
come
to
back.
Announce on your TV,
two
cases have recovered, adding to 10 of them today.
Yes, Monlumo, I'm coming back to you. I have to go for a break, but very quickly, once again to Shillong, to Mr. Preston Tingsong. Mr. Tingsong, we were discussing about the, opposition allegations. My question to you is a very straight question. Is your government willing to furnish a reply to the Congress MLA or tell the state legislature details of issues like expenditure and so on? Mr. Tingsong.
Yes. We are ready to give all this to the proper platform, be it inside the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly or be it in the CAG. Everywhere we are ready to do that. We don't have any bad intention. But as I said to you, these people, they keep criticizing about the way we handle the situation. Therefore, for the sake of opposition side, it seems they have nothing to do, nothing to say, but only to criticize the performance made by the government.
All right. Mr. Pingrop, you have heard the Deputy Chief Minister is saying that there is no cause for worry. The state government will place all matters on the floor of the House, inside the Assembly and outside. But what would you expect actually? Do you want a white paper from the state government? Do you want them to tell something to the people now?
That's correct. But first let me reply to his comment that the opposition has nothing to do. I can tell the Honourable Deputy Chief Minister that we have a lot to do. And especially these last 3 months, we've been on our feet almost 24 hours trying to help the people in the constituency. So to say that we are doing nothing and so we are raking up all these issues will not be in good taste. Number two, we were invited for meetings which was chaired by the Honourable Chief Minister on 2 occasions, which I recall. And one of those occasions, we were told that the amount of 25 lakhs per MLA would be given so that they could use those funds to buy rations and other needs which would be required by the people during the immediate lockdown. Because that was all that was required because everybody was ill prepared. In the process, we said that since we are going to buy rice with the major portion of the money, why don't you give us the rice which the FCIs we are procuring from the Food Corporation of India at the rate of 22 rupees 50 paisa per kg. But later on we came to know that the government denied our request. And at the same time we were made to buy that same rice at 30 rupees a kilo. Now you tell me, if we transport a kg of rice from any FCI godown in Assam or Meghalaya to any part of Meghalaya, the transportation cost doesn't exceed more than 1 rupee 50 paisa. So you're looking at a cost price of 22.5 rupees plus 1.5 rupees, that's 24 rupees. Why were we buying at 30 rupees in the market? Now, naturally, people will question as to why did the government fix the price at 30 rupees for FCI rice?
We'll come
it's
back.
It's paper.
Right. We'll come back. You have made a point, very specific point, Mr. Pingrove, and I'll come back to this debate, but I'll go for a very, very short break. Viewers, don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Mr. Eluandang. Why do you think these, your allegations about lapses, you have made allegations, the government spokesman has well articulated, he has explained, but why do you think are happening? You are also extremely unhappy that you are saying that Chief Minister Rio is hardly addressing the issues. He is not telling anything himself. That is one of your grievances, Eluandang.
To me, I see that in spite of the government's claim of being prepared, in reality, they are not prepared. Instead, they are panicking over the whole situation. Instead of the public panicking over this, the government is panicking. They are nervous to handle the situation. And that is how the whole system is going wrong. And in fact, if in spite of the best effort, if there are erring officials, I think exemplary action has to be initiated.
No, but Mr. Eluandang, you see, civil society is also expected to help the government, isn't it? Because civil society also has a responsibility in these critical times. What do you have to say?
You see, initially the government have failed to take the civil societies into confidence, but realizing the needs and the urgency to intervene, there are various organizations, civil societies interfering, getting involved in their own voluntarily. Now even the churches are giving their best effort to assist the government so that the citizens are protected.
Okay, Mr. Monlumo Kikon, how do you respond? He is saying that the civil society has not been consulted, civil society was not taken into confidence. That is the allegation which Mr. Eluandang is making.
I mean, our Chief Minister has very clearly stated that to face this pandemic, we have only one team, and that is Team Nagaland. It is inclusive of everybody, everybody from the government servants, which is inclusive of the frontline workers, to the civil society and the church bodies. And if you look at the entire approach and entire preparedness, it has been in tandem with all the civil societies. So one should not lose sight of the ground when we talk about our preparedness. So we have been able to ensure that there is no community spread. In spite of the fact that one or two isolated cases happened, you cannot generalize. Wasbir, how can you generalize the intent and the efforts of the government? Till date, if you look at the statistics, it's very clear. We have been able to contain, we have been able to ensure that all the quarantine facilities are there, COVID hospitals are there. We are able to provide whatever is necessary to address this pandemic. And I would like to invite on your show our Nagaho General Secretary Eluandang to come and visit our quarantine facility. He is saying that our quarantine facilities, there are some issues with it. I think he should come. He should come and see how we are handling quarantine facility.
Mr. Kikon, I'm sure Eluandang will take up take up your offer. It's not a fight between the Naga Ho and the government, as you said.
No. Wasbir, I just wanted to point out one thing, that we are Team Nagaland. Any issue that we have, we should resolve it at the appropriate forum with the proper approach.
No, what is the appropriate forum?
We can overcome this challenge.
What is the...
And our people...
Monlumo, please, can you assure on the show, because Naga Ho is not the only organization. The ENPO has also raised several questions. My question is, I am having a very simple question to you, very simple question. Now, I also agree that in these times of crisis, it's Team Nagaland, Team Assam, Team Manipur, it's Team India. Ultimately, we have to fight this battle together. Now, the point is, my question is very simple. Now, is your government willing to, whatever has happened, is your government now in the coming days willing to have a serious talk with all the civil society and move ahead? Because the COVID challenge have only begun now. Last 2 months we were busy in preparing, but now we are facing the real problem. Mr. Kikon.
I think, Wasbir, we are on the job. Let me begin by saying that, because right now, all the returnees that are coming, all the money that we are investing in ensuring that everybody gets the proper due in addressing this issue is out in the open. If you come to Nagaland and see on the ground, you will see our activities. And that's why I am inviting Ilu Undang. But when you say ENPO, you have come up with a valid point. All our responses has been in collaboration with all the civil societies of the state. Ilu Undang represents Naga Ho. Today, if you look at Naga Ho, we would like to support Naga Ho, grow and strengthen Naga Ho. And now, because there are some issues with that, we have been working with all the different tribes separately. That's why we've not been able to get in touch with Naga Ho, but all the tribes of Nagaland are working with the government of Nagaland to address this issue. If you go to any
that is
district,
a very good thing. That's a very positive.
We are working to, district administration is coordinating with
I'm quickly going to Shillong as well. I have to go to Shillong as well. Yeah. But very quickly, Monlumo, you have not answered my question. Yeah. You have not answered my question, actually. Will you be willing to talk to all the civil society in the coming days? To take things forward from now?
I have already told you. I have already told you it's not about willingness. We have been working with them from day one.
Okay.
So that is the situation report from the ground. Okay. What I have already mentioned is because Ilu is perhaps saying this because they have not had meetings with any of the Naga tribal organization from the state of Nagaland.
Okay, it's not
for the government personal. Of Nagaland from day one, we have been working with all the tribal organizations.
Right.
I also commit to you here that we will be continuing that work and that approach.
All right. Let's not make it one-to-one between the Nagaland government and one organization. It was just a point of view, and we were taking points of view from all shades. Let me go to Shillong once again. I'll come back to you, Monlumo, in a minute. Let me quickly go to Shillong. Mr. Tingson, the Deputy Chief Minister of Meghalaya. Now, would you say, Mr. Tingson, that the opposition was trying to indulge in politics over COVID? Are we to understand that you are you going to say that the opposition is playing politics over COVID? Straight question.
Yes, it seems so, because I seen just last few days back, one of the Congress MLA, he just came out in the statement saying that why so much money spent in this battlefield. Then, in fact, the next day I've already replied. I said we don't have time to debate right now. What we are going to do is we will provide all the details, even a single pie we spend. It should be done according to the financial rules.
Okay, Mr. Pingrop, how do you respond to that? Very firmly, the Deputy Chief Minister is saying that every penny will be accounted for. Of course, that is expected, isn't it?
That's right. We will expect, not as an opposition, but as a resident of the state, that we want an accountability and transparency in whatever has been done. We do not doubt the integrity of the government at all. Whatever question is asked, all you have to do is fine, say that, okay, we'll do it. But to behave in a manner which harbors on belligerence is uncalled for. That's what I thought. However, the government has said that they will do it, and we shall wait for that. Not only the opposition, everybody will wait for that matter.
No, but does it give an impression
that way,
does it,
what happens?
Does it give an impression that, you know, the opposition in Meghalaya is not working, not assisting the government? Is it a correct impression?
Absolutely not. We've had several meetings with the government, which was chaired by the Honorable Speaker. We were there and we offered our views and suggestions, which was taken very with a very good intention. So I don't see, anyway, we have not said that the government is not doing anything wrong, but let us not miss the forest for the trees. You know, there are lapses and we have to accept those lapses and build on that to ensure that we do a better job. That's all we are saying. You cannot say just because an opposition member had raised it. For that matter, anybody can raise it. Anybody can ask the government. And you are accountable. We are all accountable under the Right to Information Act. You can say, I'll give you the information later, or when the time comes. But to say that, oh, because I have nothing to do, excuse me, I have a lot of things to do.
No, Mr. Preston Tingsong, what is the road ahead? You know, are you going to work more closely with the opposition and with the civil society in continuing with your battle, which is not over at all yet?
Yes, exactly. That's what we are able to contain this much. It's because we have a concerted effort right from the village level, be it civil societies, be it religious leaders, and everybody, they are also working hard with the government. So therefore, we are able to contain up to this juncture, and I'm sure in the near future too, we will work together, and I am sure we will be able to come out successfully in fighting the COVID-19.
Right. Right. Mr. Pingrope, what is your final comments? I'm running short of time. I'll have to go to Kohima as well once again. Mr. Pingrope, what is your final comment? How do you see the road ahead? The battle has only begun, it seems.
There'll be difficult times ahead. But we must stick to protocols. We must stick to the standing operating procedures which is laid down by the government. And by doing that, we will be able to fight this pandemic in a manner which we have been doing so far in the past. And the role of the opposition, if you want to call it that, will always be constructive. And we are not here to pick at someone else's, the mistakes they have made. Because in this case, nobody is perfect. We all err. We are all human, and to err is human. But you must go forward and do it better.
Absolutely. I think extremely, statesman-like words from Mr. Charles Pingrope there. Opposition's role will be absolutely constructive criticism and not to pick issues at this critical time. But yes, transparency is the need of the hour. That is what Mr. Preston Tingsong is also assuring on this program, that they are going to place all records on the floor of the House and outside, account for every penny. Mr. Eluandang, I'm running short of time. Are you happy with the assistance provided by the Nagaland government to the people, particularly the needy people? Because there are a lot of activity in Nagaland. Mr. Eluandang.
Well, the government is not, in reality, government is not being able to reach out to the needy. Very interestingly, these politicians carrying kilos of potatoes and onions, getting pictures with the villagers. This is very funny, and I don't know how the Naga politicians are handling this, the whole scenario, the whole situation. This is very embarrassing to the state and to the whole population. And the government is not being able to reach out to the needy.
Now, what is the road ahead?
There are lots of people who are in need of the government.
Now, my next question to you, Eluandang,
as I said,
will the Naga Hoho still want the state government to talk with the civil society? Do you want the state government to talk to the civil society? Will you be prepared to talk? Elu?
Yes, it is never too late, as you have rightly stated. It has just begun. You see, this COVID-19 has entered the state, and it's obvious that it'll remain for long. And we do not know how long it'll remain. Therefore, the government must initiate prompt policies and strategies to tackle this whole situation. You see, government has to come up with education policy. Many children have already lost their academic career because of this lockdown. Now, how to recover the lost period? Government has to come up with certain policies.
Points noted.
Now,
my final word. You hold your thoughts, Elu. Final comments. Final comments, Mr. Monlumo Kikon. Your parting words, Mr. Kikon.
Wasbir, I just want to let you know that we are in this together, at least in Nagaland, whether it's Nagaho or other civil societies. Our Chief Minister has already met all the civil societies, both in Dimapur and Kohima, long time back from the beginning.
Yeah.
And as I've already mentioned, we need not lose sight of reality. We have already, in the past 3 months, distributed to more than 4 lakh population of our citizens rations and essential food items during the lockdown period.
Yeah.
And we have been helping all the stranded students outside of Nagaland, and we have already dispersed money to a lot of students and also working professionals who are outside of Nagaland. So at least credit should be given where it is due. Our best may not be good enough for Ilu Undang, but I will assure you that led by our Chief Minister, and he is on the forefront as the chairman of the high-powered committee leading this fight against COVID, and what matters to Nagas is that we are giving our best.
Okay.
And careful assessment will tell you that we are not fighting with anybody here.
All right.
It is Team Nagaland. We are working with all the civil society. I just want to say that or even online school education is going on. So I'm saying, as I said from the beginning, Ilu and I perhaps may be staying in the different state, I believe. But for us who are in Nagaland, who are assessing the ground, from our politicians to the village council chairman, we have been
point noted, Mr. I have for reasons of time.
We have been together in this
yes,
fight.
Monlumo, you will appreciate. I'll have to cut you short there. I'm running absolutely short of time. Very engaging discussion there. Very engaging discussion there. I will have to thank Reverend Vanlal Ruya, Preston Tingson, the Deputy Chief Minister, Veteran Congress Leader Charles Pingrope, Monlumo Kikon and Elu Undang for participating in the program. And of course, this is natural to expect differences of opinion, but at the end of the day, the battle can be won only if the fight is made together, and that is the moral of the story. This has just begun. We may have more challenging days ahead, and Team Nagaland, Team Assam, Team Northeast and Team India, that is the way to go. On that note, I end this edition of Northeast Tonight. Thanks the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye. Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons, and Pius Group of Institution, Guwahati.